All right, so deep half stuff, let's keep kind of looking at this. Let's try to go like this way. So I got in, got my tight waist, we've rolled over. We were saying that in the gi, if you remember, one of the tactics people use a lot is untuck the guy's lapel so I can feed this hand underneath the leg, pass the lapel to my left hand that's now under the leg, and it's anchored there. And then the right hand will grab up at the belt. They're pretty common grips, okay? Of course, no gi, we can't really do that. So if you guys remember, what we did last time was just get a nice grip here, and I tried to do an action-reaction sequence where I tried to turn his knee down to the mat. He doesn't like his knee turning down to the mat, so as he comes back, I roll with it, and I come up into my nice top position, okay? If Ian can go on the bottom here for a second, I'm on the top. He gets the half guard, rolls into the deep half, okay? Sometimes people play back so far from here that it's really hard to get them to post their hand on the ground at all, right? Maybe they're pulling your arm up, maybe they're pulling with an outside grip, maybe they got an underhook, which you should really try to not let them get, right? But sometimes it's really hard to get them to base out that way. So can you guys see how I'm sitting right now and how this would be very different compared to if I'm here? Now Ian probably can get me to go here and then do that sequence. But when I'm really sitting back and I'm keeping his shoulders flat to the ground instead of letting him get to his side, it's a little bit of a different situation. Everyone with me? Questions on that? Okay, so I'm going to go back to the bottom, and now we're going to say, okay, it's not where I want to be. Something's already not gone according to plan if I'm here, but sometimes we need moves that are plan B moves or plan C moves or whatever, right? So I don't think that this is meant to be anybody's plan A. It's more of, okay, like I didn't get my first choice, what am I going to do now? Okay, so let's go look at that. Okay, so I'm here. I come over, and he's got me pretty flat. Yeah, like this, okay? One thing that happens that when he's kind of getting me more flat like this is I actually can pummel my legs a little bit more easily than when I was on my side, okay? And I can elevate his leg a little bit more easily compared to when I was on my side, okay? So what I'm going to be looking to do is I want to try to get underneath of this leg with my feet, or at least a foot, rather than being over the top, okay? The leg that I would prefer to get is this one, okay? But it's a little hard from this angle to go get it from there. So I might need to first hold it sideways so I can get the other leg under. And I can, of course, use my hand to help. Okay? Because the leg is really light when it's long like this. So we're in something like this. I might go under for a second and start to elevate, start to clear, get underneath. Okay? But really what I want is this, where my toe comes to the inside and my knee stays on the outside. Okay? And in fact, having this arm underneath like I showed is going to be probably pretty good for my sequence from here. Okay? This hand can stay where it is. If it can reach back to his hip, that can be actually quite good also, okay? And I'm trying to make his ankle stay higher than his knee from here, especially with my arm underneath. From here, now I can force the roll back, and I come up into a stack pass, okay? So it's a lot of like minutia leg pummeling, but you know, we have to do that stuff sometimes, right? Okay, so let's look again. So we're here, we came over. He gets me kind of flat, right? I don't have the angles that I did before, and not last week, Tuesday's move was an action-reaction sequence. It was that way, right away into that way. I needed his momentum to make it possible. Now I can't get him over there, which means I can't get the reaction back that way to make Tuesday's version, which is almost the same move, but I can't really do it very well, okay? So I need to try to get underneath of his ankle now in order to get a similar version, like a cousin of the move, okay? So one way or another, I need to get under it, okay? I can go ahead and get my arm underneath because that'll help me get a little bit of an initial elevation. Do you guys see how I pull his foot out to give me a little bit of space to work in there, okay? But the problem if I keep this leg and try to flip him is now he could potentially step over, and this is really crappy for me. I really don't want that at all. That's going to be a bad day, okay? So I probably need to transfer his right leg to my right leg to make the move happen, because then that step over is incredibly hard for him to do, okay? So we're here, half guard, roll into it. He gets me a little bit flat, okay? I can start sliding my hand down to get a little bit of elevation, right? See how I'm getting his whole leg up? He's being cooperative right now, but I'm trying to get him up a little bit, okay? What can give me a nice angle is hooking his toe and turning outwards. Now I can get the first leg under. But remember to try to come up and pass it to the other leg. Now do you feel like it's much harder for you to step over?
Yeah.
It's almost impossible for him to step over, okay? If I feel like I've got a really good bite and he can't step over, then my right hand can release and come back here right away to the other hip, okay? If I'm not confident, if he's moving a lot, then anchoring his hip low and lifting his foot high is going to guarantee me he cannot step over. So you need to make a game time decision, okay? I can also choose to go under, stay under here, maybe go like this. This I feel like it's harder for him to underhook me. Plus it's already here anyway, so I think you've got a strong case for it, okay? So I'm lifting as high to the sky as I can. I'm pushing off of the mat with this foot, and I'm trying to turn over. Eventually I want to try to come up to like a stack pass sort of a position, okay? A lot of little details I know on this one, but that's how jiu-jitsu goes sometimes. I'll show it with Ian one more time, okay? So we're in the deep half guard. He sits back onto his heel a lot. Really difficult for me to bump him and get him onto his hands from here, okay? So then I need to use, so the deep half guard has, I would say, two big features that make it attractive as a guard. One is I'm right under the hips, so I have the potential to off balance him very effectively. But if he's shutting that down, the other attractive feature is I've got a very long lever that I can manipulate. So instead of going for the feature about being under the hips, I'm now going to capitalize on the feature of a very long lever of his leg. So I'm going to go under, okay? I'm going to hook my pinky toe to his big toe. Can everybody see that? My pinky toe to his big toe. And that just, it torques his leg. His leg feels really quite trapped from here. It's hard to move it too much. This should give me enough room to sweep under and get my first leg, that then I can lift and pass to my second leg, okay? Again, if you want the strongest control of this leg, keep the hand on the hip for a long time until he's rolled over. If you're not worried about it, you feel like, oh, I've got super good control for one reason or another, you can switch this hand to the other hip because that's where you want it for the stack pass. You can switch it early. So personal preference, okay? All right? But if I feel like, okay, I really want it secure right now, I'm there, okay? So I'm lifting this high to the sky, and I'm kind of reverse shrimping over, okay? I'm gonna come underneath, look for the stack pass from there, okay? Obviously, we're not teaching the stack pass tonight, we're just teaching this, but if you're in the level 2 class, you should already know the fundamentals of a stack pass, okay? Aaron, can I borrow so that Ian can see? All right, so over here. All right, so we're in. We get to this deep half guard. This is going to be harder for me to do on Aaron than on Ian because of leg length, right? If I had Philip, this would be the easiest for me. If I had Brian Walsh, it'd be even easier for me because he's like 9 feet tall, right? But a shorter leg person, this is going to be more difficult. So hopefully I picked a partner that I can still do it with. We'll see. Good thing I didn't pick Yoonji. I'd be screwed. There'd be no way I could do it. Okay? So if I'm way over on this side, I will go for probably Tuesday's sequence, right? If Aaron is sitting way back, that's going to be more difficult for me, I think. Okay? Like I can't bump and rock I don't feel like I can spin and get over with my existing control right now. I need to change my control. So let's rotate this way with me. Okay, that should be good. Okay, so I'm gonna go underneath, protect my arm a little bit, and get to a position where I can start to do that leg pummeling, okay? So I start to get up a little bit, and I'm gonna hook my pinky toe to her big toe. And I'm going toward that wall with my pressure. Do you feel how it applies a moderate torque on your leg? Mm-hmm. It's not the biggest torque in the world. It's not gonna get a tap out, but it does control it. It might not look like much to you guys, but it really actually is a pretty nice little control there, okay? And I can't hold it forever, but I don't need to. I just need to get my first leg under, okay? Once my first leg is under, I lift, and now I get my second leg under. So my toes are on one side of her leg, my knee is on the other side. That's a really important detail, okay? I need opposites. If I, for some reason or another, also brought my knee over here, well, now I'm screwed, right? I just passed my own guard at that point, okay? So I've got to keep my toes on the one side and my knee on the outside, okay? Everyone with me on that part? Any questions on it? Okay. Again, she can probably also feel when I anchor this down, it's not going to tap her out, but it does control her hip a little bit more, okay? So now I use a bridge and a big lift to come over, and I fight for probably a stack pass. Obviously, in no-gi, this has got potential to be a scrambly type of situation, but you know, it's good to have a target to shoot for, and the target should be double underhook, stack pass. If she gives me a response I'm not expecting, then I adapt, right? But my anticipation is to go to the stack pass from here, okay? Let's show one more time. That way Ian gets one more look, and then we'll go practice it. Questions from anybody? I know it's a lot of minutia stuff. Kartik?
Is she able to lift the leg and then just rip it apart when you're having one leg control?
I think it's highly unlikely, okay? It's very hard, like the way our anatomy works. It's incredibly hard to lift your leg higher than the line of your hip bone, okay? So if her hip is low because I'm holding it down, very hard for her to lift her leg higher than that. If I was very loose on that grip and she was able to get up taller or get up like this and get her hips up, then her leg could go higher. So I'm trying to think of keeping her hips really low because it's really hard the way our bodies are built to lift my own leg higher than the line of my hip. Okay? So there's like if you're fighting like a Russian ballerina, then maybe, okay? But for most people, like we can't do that. Is there another question?
Yeah. So I mean, why are we doing all this like leg pummeling? Like, why? I'm just trying to understand like what are we accomplishing? Why can't just like?
Yeah. So that was kind of going back to if for me to just turn over, I can't do it with her weight on me, right? She's too heavy. I'm stuck, right? So I need to get unstuck somehow. I can either do Tuesday's move where I make her put her hands on the mat, and then as she recovers, she's light as she's recovering, and I use that window to roll with her, right? In today's example, she's sitting in such a way where I can't get her to put her foot on her hands. She's heavy on top of me. And trying to bridge and roll from a dead stop is very unlikely. It's probably not going to work. So I'm going to change my angle to lift her leg up so high that her body just tips over. Okay? So last rep. So we were in half guard, roll over, deep half, but she's sitting down on me. Oh man, this is hard. If I tried to bridge and roll right now, both is very hard for me, and her hand is completely free to post backwards and base. Tuesday's move worked because I made her base over here. Her hands were over here, and her hands can't be in two places at once. They can't base this way and that way at the same time, okay? But right now she's so low, I can't make her post over there. So I got to do something else, okay? So I'm going to go underneath, okay? I'm going to elevate and I'm going to turn out. Can you lift your leg up and escape?
No.
It should be incredibly hard to do, okay? Even though it doesn't look like a lot of a trap, it feels incredibly hard to do, Okay? Leg number 1. Now if I just stay here, can you lift it up and escape? It's actually the easiest of the positions.
It's still really hard.
It's still really hard, but it's the easiest of the positions for her to escape. Okay? And now this is probably the hardest for her to escape.
I can't move it.
The only way she can move is that way, which is where I want her to go anyway. So I'm making her, see how I make her ankle go super high? She's just tipping over, right? And as I go underneath, I either go into my stack pass or I go into just whatever presents itself from right there. Okay? So again, like stretching her hamstring and making her leg really long is like a key concept to this one. All right, any last questions before we try it? All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3.